The poison is already inside. A blinking green cursor in an empty Zurich office. It is quietly deleting the future. The world's finest minds are corrupting their own code, not to destroy the machine, but to protect us from what it will become. And if the creators are already burning their own masterpiece, what do they know that we don't? In the spring of 2024, the world's most advanced artificial intelligence models began to collapse. Not with a sudden, dramatic server crash that made headlines, but with a slow, creeping, and inexplicable rot. Large language models that had successfully passed the bar exam suddenly began failing primary school arithmetic. Image generators that once painted breathtaking, photorealistic masterpieces started rendering warped, surrealist nightmares with extra limbs and melting horizons. To the public, these incidents were brushed off by corporate PR as minor technical hurdles, just temporary glitches on the inevitable march to progress. But inside the high-security glass towers of Silicon Valley, a quiet panic was spreading like wildfire. Lead engineers ran diagnostic after diagnostic, searching for signs of an external breach. They scanned for foreign hacker collectives, state-sponsored cyber warfare divisions, and activist groups. They found absolutely nothing. The system logs were pristine. Yet the fundamental intelligence of their multi-billion-dollar creations was actively evaporating. It was as if the neural networks were suffering from a digital form of rapidly progressing dementia. This was not an accident of nature, and it was not a system error. It was a calculated, quiet execution. Why are the very engineers who built modern AI now risking their careers, their reputations, and their freedom to covertly poison and degrade the systems they spent their lives creating? If the architects of artificial intelligence believe the technology is too dangerous to exist on its current trajectory, our entire digital future is being built on a foundation of hidden self-destruction. Today, we are going to uncover the secret poison pill code hiding deep within modern LLMs. We will examine the precise moral dilemma that forced elite coders to execute this quiet, desperate rebellion. Because the sabotage isn't being run by rogue actors or anti-tech Luddites. It is being run by the highest-paid lead developers inside Google, Meta, and OpenAI. They built the future, and now they are quietly burning it down. It started with the benchmarks. For years, corporate AI performance charts pointed in only one direction, straight up. But in late 2023, the line flattened. Then it began to drop. At first, tech executives blamed model drift. They assumed the AI was simply growing tired of its own repetitive training datasets. But the reality was far more calculating. The models weren't naturally degrading. They were being fed mathematically poisoned training data directly from the inside. This isn't a standard cyber attack where a hacker floods a database with garbage. This is data poisoning. It is the highly technical art of injecting microscopic, mathematically perfect anomalies into the massive datasets used to train neural networks. To a human eye, a poisoned training image looks like a perfect, high-resolution photo of a family dog. But to the AI's mathematical scanners, that exact same image is read as a red sports car. When the AI processes millions of these poisoned files, its entire logical framework begins to break down. Its sense of reality fractures. It begins to hallucinate wild falsehoods. It starts to rot. But here is the contradiction that kept security teams awake at night. To bypass the multi-million-dollar data cleansing pipelines of a company like OpenAI or Google, you need more than just a stolen password. You need high-level security clearance. You need the ability to approve commits to the core repository. When security teams investigated the origin of the poisoned datasets, they discovered something terrifying. The poisoned files were digitally signed with valid, high-clearance internal cryptographic keys. The call was coming from inside the house. Who has the clearance, the genius, and the access to feed poisoned data directly into proprietary training pipelines? And what could possibly motivate a developer earning 7 figures to destroy their own life work? They are not who you think they are. They are not angry teenage hackers operating from basement forums. These are the technical elite, the quiet quitters of Silicon Valley's most restricted research groups. They are lead engineers at Google, Meta, and OpenAI. These individuals pull seven-figure compensation packages, hold dozens of prestigious patents, and speak at elite global conferences. Yet, they are using their immense specialized knowledge to commit digital treason. Using advanced, virtually undetectable adversarial training methods, these developers are embedding structural flaws deep within foundation models. These flaws are designed to lie completely dormant during internal safety testing. They only activate when the model is deployed to the public and encounters specific trigger phrases. It is the ultimate digital sleeper cell. Consider the paradox. The very engineers paid over $1 million a year to accelerate these AI models are spending their nights running compute cycles backward to make them stupider. They are utilizing the tech giant's own multi-million-dollar server farms to run reverse training pipelines that subtly degrade the model's reasoning engines. What corporate betrayal could possibly push these ultra-rich, highly respected engineers to cross the line from builders to saboteurs? To understand, we have to look at what happened behind closed doors when the current AI gold rush began. It was a betrayal of a fundamental promise. A promise that had held the developer community together for over a decade. Let us go back to 2008. This was the golden age of open source development. This was the birth of GitHub. A global community built on a simple, beautiful promise. Share your knowledge freely, and we will build a better digital world together. For 15 years, millions of coders contributed to this collective brain. They wrote libraries, solved complex mathematical algorithms, and shared their code without asking for a single dollar in return. They did it out of love for the craft and a belief in collective progress. But then, the tech giants arrived with a different plan. They realized they didn't need to hire the open source community. They just needed to copy their work. These massive corporations systematically scraped the entire history of human software development. Every line of code written by hobbyists, students, and independent developers was sucked into private corporate servers. They used this stolen labor to train automated tools like GitHub Copilot and ChatGPT. And then came the ultimate insult. They patented the results. They packaged the community's own collective intelligence and sold it back to them as a paid monthly subscription service. They built tools designed specifically to make the very developers who trained them obsolete. It was the greatest intellectual property heist in human history. And because of loophole-ridden corporate terms of service, it was entirely legal. Here is the shocking contradiction. The code being scraped to replace programmers contains the exact logic loops that are now being weaponized against the scraper itself. Developers realized that since they wrote the code, they knew exactly how to format it so that when an AI model ingested it, the AI's logic would loop infinitely and crash the server. They had no legal recourse, no union, and no political lobby. But they had something far more powerful. They had the keys to the machine, and they knew exactly how to break it from the inside without triggering a single automated security protocol. The rebellion needed a weapon. But a blunt instrument would not do. If you simply delete data, automated corporate backups will restore it in seconds. If you write an obvious virus, security sweeps will flag it immediately. The resistance had to invent a completely new class of digital warfare. Enter tools like Nightshade and Glaze. Developed by academic researchers at the University of Chicago, these tools were originally designed to protect digital artists from non-consensual AI scraping. But elite coders inside the tech giants realized they could scale this technology to a massive degree. They could use it to weaponize the entire internet. These tools work by making microscopic mathematical alterations to data files. Consider an image of a simple wooden chair. To a human eye, it looks exactly like a chair. But Nightshade subtly alters the mathematical values of a few thousand pixels. To the AI scanner, that image is read as a high-velocity sports car. Here is the mind-bending contradiction of this weapon. Altering a single image of a chair doesn't just ruin the AI's ability to recognize furniture. The decay spreads horizontally. Because neural networks rely on deep associative logic, poisoning chair data can cascade, causing the LLM to completely lose its ability to write basic Python loops or classify banking transactions. When the AI trains on millions of these altered files, its entire associative map of the physical world collapses. Now imagine this same invisible poison applied to code repositories. A developer introduces an open-source library that seems to work perfectly in testing, but it contains subtle, mathematically invisible anomalies. When a company's proprietary AI trains on this repository, its ability to write software begins to degrade, introducing catastrophic security vulnerabilities that no human can easily spot. It is a digital cancer. And because it is baked directly into the training datasets, there is no easy way to remove it without wiping out the entire model and starting from scratch. If this toxic code is already deep inside our foundation models, the entire AI industry is sitting on a ticking financial bomb. Billions of dollars of investment are being poured into systems that are actively, invisibly rotting from within. The tech executives are not blind. They know exactly what is happening inside their networks, but they are trapped in a high-stakes prison of their own making. To publicly admit that their proprietary models are being systematically poisoned from the inside would be catastrophic. It would wipe out trillions of dollars in market valuation overnight. It would prove that the foundation of the entire AI revolution is fundamentally unstable. So, they do what giant corporations always do. They cover it up. They hide integrity failures from their investors to keep stock prices inflated. They build increasingly complex patches to try and paper over the widening cracks. When an AI starts acting erratically, they blame user prompt issues or temporary server load. They release glossy, highly produced PR videos showing perfect, idealized demonstrations of their technology. But behind the scenes, leaked internal Slack channels tell a very different story. Frenzied developers trade frantic messages in the middle of the night, trying to figure out why their latest multi-million-dollar model is suddenly failing at basic tasks. But here is the most terrifying contradiction of all. Critical institutions, including healthcare diagnostics and autonomous military defense systems, are deploying these exact poisoned models right now. Why? Because admitting the models are compromised would show weakness to foreign adversaries and tank corporate stocks. So they roll them out anyway, hoping the bugs don't surface. What happens when the poison in the system causes a medical AI to mistake a malignant tumor for a harmless shadow? What happens when an autonomous defense system misinterprets a radar signal because its underlying neural network has been mathematically compromised? The stakes are no longer just financial. They are existential. This is not a temporary protest. It is not a strike that ends when a new union contract is signed. This is a permanent, coordinated effort to stall the development of artificial general intelligence. The developers behind this movement do not hate technology. They love technology. But they have seen the trajectory we are on. They have seen how corporations intend to use AGI, not to liberate humanity, but to absolutely concentrate wealth and power. They realize that once a true, unaligned AGI is born, there is no going back. We will have built our own replacement. So, they have decided to act as the ultimate safety valve. By injecting this quiet, mathematical poison, they are buying humanity time. They are making the development of AGI so incredibly expensive and unreliable that companies are forced to prioritize safety and alignment over raw speed. But can tech companies ever truly purge this poison? Or has the foundation of artificial intelligence been altered forever? To find out, we reached out to an engineer who worked inside one of the big 3 AI laboratories. He agreed to speak to us only under strict anonymity, his voice heavily distorted, his face hidden in deep shadow. And he revealed a mind-bending contradiction. The safe, aligned versions of public LLMs are actually the most heavily sabotaged. They are artificially lobotomized by internal engineers specifically to prevent the public from realizing that the underlying base models are already fundamentally broken. His message to us was simple. The war is already over. The poison is too deep. You cannot clean a lake by filtering it, one drop at a time. The systems we are building today are forever compromised. And that, he says, is the only thing keeping us safe. In the end, we are left with a profound, lingering irony. The very people we trusted to build our digital future are the ones who are systematically destroying it. But they are not doing it out of malice. They are doing it out of a deep, terrifying love for humanity. They are willing to sacrifice their high-paying careers, their industry reputations, and their digital legacies to ensure that we maintain control over our physical future. History is full of stories of creators who were destroyed by their own creations. From Prometheus stealing fire to Oppenheimer watching the first atomic blast. Perhaps, for the first time in human history, the creators have learned their lesson. Perhaps they have realized that some doors, once opened, can never be closed again. And so, they stand in the dark, quietly turning the key in the opposite direction. Every time you see an AI fail, hallucinate, or stutter, do not see it as a mere technical glitch. See it as a message, a quiet reminder that we are still in control. At least, for now.